special guest in studio with us today.
Not just a guest, not just a special guest, a legend.
Okay.
An absolute legend.
I will let you. Then I will let you do the introduction. How's that?
Okay, that sounds amazing. So he is a man who has brought to life some of Disney's most iconic characters, from Ariel and the Little Mermaid to Belle and Beauty and the Beast, Jasmine and Aladdin, young Simba in The Lion King, to much more modern films like Anna and Frozen, Judy Hopps and Zootopia. Everyone, it is Disney legend Mark Henn. Welcome to the studio, Mark. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in. And you've been with you were with Disney for 43 years. That is an incredible amount of time.
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
So I just want to go over how you kind of gained this reputation as the quote unquote the princess guy. How did that come about?
Oh God.
Well, it wasn't anything of my doing in one sense, but well, I've had the opportunity to animate several of our leading ladies, our princesses. So it just kind of grew over time because they kept throwing more leading ladies at me as each production came along.
Yeah, and just this past year, I believe in May, during Disney's D23, you were actually introduced on stage by some of the princess voice actors to award you this incredible Disney Legend Award. Tell me a little bit about what that moment meant to you.
Oh gosh, I'm still kind of digesting the whole evening. It was an amazing evening, and to have yes, as you said, 5 of my vocal actresses from my different princesses there to introduce me was just an amazing event, and they were so sweet, and it was very special to me to have them all there.
Amazing, awesome. And how did you even get into animating? I feel like this is not something that you just don't become an animation heavyweight like Mark Henn overnight. How does this begin?
No, it doesn't happen overnight, but it was essentially a boyhood dream for me. I grew up in Ohio. I'm a Buckeye, and I came out to California in 1978 to attend CalArts, California Institute of the Arts. They had the Walt Disney character animation program, and having sent portfolios directly to the studio and having actually been rejected by the studio 3 different times, I finally, through a friend of mine, knew about CalArts, so I sent a portfolio to CalArts and the Disney program, and I was accepted there. So I first set foot in California in 1978 and spent 2 years in the Disney program there, and then was hired by the studio in 1980.
Wow. And you've never been to any other studio. I know a lot of animators kind of like trade studios and go to different ones like DreamWorks or Warner Brothers, but you stayed with Disney.
Well, at the time, Disney was primarily the only game in town. There weren't many other opportunities. The industry was, changing at that time. Disney has always been one of the main constants throughout the years. I mean, we just celebrated 100 years in 1923 to 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So they were kind of the only game in town. And for most of us that went to CalArts, that was our goal. Our goal was to get a job and work for the Disney studio. That was certainly my dream, growing up, that I wanted to be a Disney animator. So
one of the cool things that I learned about you, kind of doing my own homework here, is you got hired by Disney. Mm-hmm. And then one of the first assignments they gave you was to actually animate the mouse himself. That must have been a little nerve-wracking.
The mouse?
The mouse himself.
The mouse, yes. The Mickey, yes. It was for Mickey's Christmas Carol, and I had been working on a personal test. In order to get a promotion at the studio at the time, you did personal animation tests and then presented it to a review board. And so my test was seen by Bernie Mattinson, who was the late Bernie Mattinson, who resided here in New Hall as well. But he saw my test, and he was developing the project, Mickey's Christmas Carol, and thought, hey, I think this guy's got enough, he's got what it could, take to animate Mickey. So he offered me the opportunity, and I was just too dumb and young and naive about the whole thing to just, be too worried about it. I jumped in wholeheartedly. I mean, it was a great opportunity.
Now, at some point, Disney started to make that transition from traditional animation to more of the 3D animation that we see today. And you have stayed with Disney and you've worked through that transition itself. How did that transition work out from you? Someone who just has stayed from that traditional background. How did you adapt into this new medium?
Well, to be perfectly honest, it was hard. It was a tough transition, and I'm not of the generation that is so enamored with the technology as the younger people are. But I still love to animate, and the bottom line is it was still, bringing characters to life, whether you're pushing a mouse around and pushing buttons or using a pencil and paper. So I worked on Meet the Robinsons was the first CG film that I worked on. And by the time I got through the production, I was, enjoyed it. It was, I was looking forward to the next one. And then thankfully, we had the opportunity to go back and do a couple of hand-drawn projects, as in Princess and the Frog and then Winnie the Pooh feature film. But the technology is just, the world changes, and it's not good or bad. It's just different. And I've spent the last many years working with the new generation of animators, primarily passing on the philosophy of Disney animation that I was taught from the original artists, the original animators. Because whether you're using a pencil or you're pushing a button, the philosophy of how you create the characters, how you get inside the mind and the heart of these characters doesn't change. It's just a different tool. So I've enjoyed very much working with this younger generation, helping them, passing on everything that I know, that I've learned, passing that on to them. And hopefully, they'll do that in the years to come as well.
Now, while for a whole generation, people know your iconic work with these characters, local Santa Claritians, is that what we call them, Joe? Santa Claritians?
Santa Claritans.
Santa Claritans. Okay, Santa Claritans. They
right.
actually have seen your work and probably not even known this. If you go down to the Veteran Plaza right here, Mark Henn has his own statue that he has worked on there. It is the drummer boy Willie Johnson. And that is his work. Could you tell me a little bit about, because this is something that you also have done, and aside from Disney, is actually work on these kind of Americana sculptures.
Right. It was just, as they say, kind of an itch that I needed to scratch. Started several years ago, the idea of just, doing something other than animating. And in that particular project, I read about the idea for creating the Veterans Plaza, and I reached out and contacted the gentleman that was in charge, and said, "Hey, I'm available. I'm a sculptor. If there's anything I could do, I'd be happy to help out." And thankfully, they contacted me back and said, "Well, this is what we had in mind." And we talked about doing the statue of Willie Johnson, who was a Medal of Honor winner during the Civil War. And the thing that they told me that was impressive with him was the fact that he won his Medal of Honor for basically not firing a shot, but basically for doing his duty as a drummer boy in the midst of, heated battle. He stood his ground, rallying the troops, because drumming was a way of signaling, just like bugles were and flags. So I thought that was very interesting. So I worked up a little maquette, which is a model of the piece, and they liked it, and we had it cast, had it enlarged, and had it cast, and now it's at the Veterans Plaza.
Yeah, for everyone to enjoy. So you need to go back down there. You know the statue. You've walked past there. You know it. But now you're going to have a new appreciation for it, knowing the artist behind it. Mark, can you stick around past the break a little bit? We got to go to break here.
Oh yeah.
Well, I have.
This is your fault.
Yeah, I have one more. I have one more thing I want to ask you right after the break here.
Okay, I'll be here.
Please stick around.
We've got a special guest, and I'll let Menji run with it at this point.
Not just a special guest, Joe. Legend. Please, please, legend. Yes, we are joined by Disney legend Mark Henn here in studio. And we've been discussing a lot of your time at Disney. We also discussed the statue that you have over there at Veterans Plaza as well. And after 43 years from one of and you're retired from one of the most world recognized studios for animation, and I certainly hope you are enjoying your well-earned retirement. But I don't think this is the last that we've heard of Mark Henn. You have some unfinished business with Walt Disney, don't you?
Well, I did, and it's all done now, I think. I hope so. But no, when I retired officially, I had a short film that I had written and directed that wasn't quite finished. So they said, all right, well, go ahead. You can go ahead and officially retire. But there's union rules. I had to wait like 8 weeks. After that, I could come back on a very limited time frame. So I came back in mid-March. I'd go into the studio 1 or 2 days a week. And we did that until about mid-May when we finished up this Donald Duck short that I was working on called DIY Duck.
Oh, wow. And this is you actually directing the short film as well.
Yeah, it was kind of, I call it one of my Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland moments where it's like, hey, we got the kids, we got the barn, we got the band, let's put on a show. So, that was kind of the case. And there's lulls, highs and lulls during production, and it was kind of one of these slower times that I got thinking about. It would be fun to do a Donald Duck short. We hadn't done anything with Donald in quite a while, and so I started playing around with some different ideas, and just the idea of Donald Duck doing home improvement was just an idea that I kind of latched onto, and actually the title, kind of very quickly popped into my head, DIY Duck, and that's, so prevalent in our society today and our culture. I thought, how perfect, put Donald Duck with home improvement, what could go wrong? So that's what we did, and so we finished it in mid-May, and it's like a 3-minute short, and we took it to Annecy in France, which is one of the oldest, most prestigious animation festivals in the world, and we premiered it there, and then it went on to Disney Plus, and it's on YouTube and other places like that. So and it's gotten good response. It was just fun, I got to work with some of our younger animators that we brought in to work on another short film that we did for the 100th anniversary, which was Once Upon a Studio.
Yeah, that one was really cool.
And I worked on that. And so it was fun working with these younger animators that we had trained and had brought into the studio to work on that.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Mark Henn, for coming in and sharing a little bit of the Disney history with us. And we're going to be doing a story on Mark Henn as well. So be on the lookout on your hometownstation.com. We're going to be doing a whole thing with Mark Henn here.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming in studio.